So, honestly, I don't even really know where to begin. There's so much going on with this story right now. There's so much being said. There's so much blame being thrown on both sides right now that it's really hard to tell, what really happened and what's really going on, right? And what doesn't help is people like Pohl, when this thing was going on, uh, doing their own research and then posting it to Twitter, right? Instead of giving it to the authorities first, right? And pretty much almost framing like the wrong guy, this like I don't know white kid from Michigan or something. Then they were saying it was like a black woman. There was somebody else, right? So uh, my recommendation is Poll should stop doing this, and if they actually have information, they should give it to the authorities first instead of putting it on Twitter. Like this is the exact same thing that feminists do or women do on Twitter when they have no evidence of a rape, and then they go on Twitter and accuse the person on there and try to like shame them and whatnot. Like, it's not a responsible thing to do. If you have information, bring it to the authorities. But that's pretty much what I wanted to get out of the way first. But yeah, there's been a lot of blame being thrown back and forth, and the way the media is portraying this right now is that the only ones to blame are the white supremacists, right? And that's it. And if you say anything different, you're a white supremacist yourself, you sympathize with them, blah, 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 blah. If you're for free speech for these people, then you're a terrible person, etc., etc. And they're all harping on, Trump's comment where he denounced both sides. And, I agree with that comment. It was both sides. Yes, there was that one guy who did go and kill that girl and run through all those people. And that guy's a piece of shit, and he should be denounced. He is denounced from all sides, right? And like rightfully so. And Trump denounced both sides, right? And what people seem to forget and what they ignore is that these people showed up to protest, the destruction of a monument, right? And like this is apparently tons of Nazis, tons of whatever, but they came like it was a national protest, and they only were able to get like less than 1,000 people there. So really, if this is all they could really muster, it's not really that big of a problem. But they're saying it's only just one side that's creating violence, but there were counter protests that showed up there. Antifa, BLM, and some of them had the intention to fight back. They had weapons as well. Both sides had weapons. And, if you've been paying attention to any of the other protests, any of the other rallies that happened, what generally happens whenever right-wingers hold rallies, people on the left will show up, will disrupt it, etc., and then violence will erupt. But every time there's a rally on the left, the reverse does not happen. So you don't generally see this. So the people that showed up there also have some blame, right? They have some blame, but but they have every right to protest at the same thing. Like they have the right to do a counter protest, and these people have a right to do their own protest at the monument. So both of them should have that right, and both of them shouldn't be attacking each other because they disagree with each other. And they're blaming it just on one side, obviously, but realistically, a lot of the issues was caused by the media and by the government and by the police. The police were told to stand down during this event, and they let this shit fester. They let them fight, okay? And the reason they did this is because the mayor did not want them to come here to begin with. So the ACLU, out of everybody, came to defense of the alt-right when they wanted to do this rally, because they're like, no, this is freedom of speech. You have to defend this. So, they had every right to go there, but the mayor didn't want them to be there. So, his tactic, because he can't kick them out legally, is he's going to tell the police to stand down. And he knows that there's going to be clashes. There's going to be fights. And once there is, then he can declare it an unlawful protest, and then they can move it somewhere else. So there's a lot to blame to go with the mayor as well, and the council, right? If they had just let them, protest there, and they would have had like And if the police just did their job and separate the people like they did in countless other protests that did not turn out like this, where when the cops actually did their job, right? There was no violence, whatever. And if they would have just done this, then they wouldn't have had to move the protest. There would have been, all these events wouldn't transpired. And the guy who killed her he's to blame 100%. Yes. Like, it's his fault. He did it. He's a piece of shit. He should go to jail. He should be prosecuted to the fullest extent. And there is no excuse for his behavior. Even if he feels that white people are given a shitty stick and whatever by the media and we're shit upon, all this stuff. Like, even if all that is true, that still does not give you the right to go in and fucking kill people. And anybody that is applauding this on the right are fucking horrible human beings, pieces of shit, and they're going to cause more death and more destruction with this type of rhetoric, because there are a lot of impressionable people out there who are like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a good thing. So no, like, don't praise this attack. He did the fucking wrong thing, 100%. Like, there was nothing he did. Like, you cannot praise anything he did. And like, you can say white supremacy is the what's the blame for this, but that's just you're getting a very simplistic picture of what's really going on, right? So it has more to do with yes, the people going to the monument protesting that, the people counter protesting, the police not doing their job, then people being moved halfway there, and then you got to take into consideration, like, the media takes no onus on this when they've been the ones who have been propping up these people on the alt-right and giving them more of a platform. Every time they do something, they cover them. And, and the alt-right's also to blame for pretty much trying to trigger people, essentially, by going there with, like, the day before with torches and shit like that. Like, you know how that's going to be viewed. You know what city you're going into. You know what the fuck. So they're also trying to goad the liberals to attack them so then they can get sympathy, right, from other people, from the larger group or more white people, right? They're trying to get sympathy. But they're also playing with fire, and clearly it backfired on them. Now this is going to make them look a lot fucking worse because they're fucking stupid, right? So both sides are at fault, and the media is at fault for constantly pushing this narrative, that are pushing this thing, go punch Nazis, go out, resist. They never ever emphasize doing it peacefully. They're talking about rhetoric on the right where sometimes is bad, but there's a lot of rhetoric on the left that is, pushing for this type of resistance. And like I said before, you got to take into consideration, this was only a few hundred people, and it was a nationwide protest. So people were flying there from all over, and this is all they can gather. You should not really fear the problem of white identitarians necessarily having a huge foothold when this is all they can fucking muster. So the media is giving a platform to the crazies on the left and the crazy on the right, and this is giving everybody the perceptions that we're more divided, etc., than we really are, right? So, we got to be careful about this manipulation, because the more they want to keep this going, they want to goad us, they want to goad us to fight. The more they fight, the more we fight, the more they can censor us, the more they have a reason to censor us, the more they have a reason to increase the police force and give them more power over us, the more they can increase the government. So we should not be playing into their hands. And yes, white supremacists are bad, and Nazis are bad, and we should oppose them, but we should also respect freedom of speech. And we should not, I see a lot of people saying, oh no, Nazis should not have the right to speak, blah, blah, blah. But no, they should. And what's going to happen is that a lot of people who are not Nazis, who are not on believing this same shit, but are on the right or whatever, are going to have their protest shut down, right? And they shouldn't even really need to have had a permit to be there anyways. Like the Antifa, all these other people that came didn't need a fucking permit, right? So let people just protest. And also at the same time, another thing is that I think there's way too many fucking protests. Like, what is surrounding this statue? with a bunch of fucking torches going to do? You're not going to do anything, right? That's not going to save the statue. Like, obviously they're trying to go, people attack them as well. And it's fucking not a good idea. So, and protests cost fucking money, right? Every time these protests get held, your city is losing a lot of fucking money. Your city is losing millions of dollars. Your taxpayers are losing millions of dollars, whether it's on the right or the left. These protests, like, you need police security, you need to shut shit down. So there's a huge cost to these protests, and I'm not saying you shouldn't protest whatsoever, ever at all. But there's specific times, and you shouldn't protest over every little fucking thing, especially in the environment that there is now, where it's extremely heated, and you're just going to, play into their hands. And when we need to emphasize, if you're, peaceful protests, everybody doing peaceful shit, and also, hold politicians, hold the cops and stuff accountable when they don't enforce the laws, they don't protect people. So, they're and we got to be careful about the mainstream media and the way they're portraying this. Like, I even saw, Huffington Post, or BuzzFeed and other articles linking the 2 guys who died in a helicopter to this. They're like, oh, the death toll has now risen to 3. And the way that they phrased in the headlines is more like, holy shit, 3 people died there. But they, that's not what happened. Those 2 people, unless somebody that was right-wing fascist was there and shot it down with a rocket launcher, like, yeah, that had kind of nothing to do with the other deaths. But they're going to link it in with there. So, I think we got to be really careful about how everybody's being portrayed right now. And everybody's going to be lumped in with the far right-wing people if they just sort of support the right for them to protest. So, we need to stand up and we need to call out who are the real culprits of this, which is the media, which are politicians. These other, it's not black people, it's not white people, it's not this and that. It's our fucking leadership. Those are the people who should be blamed. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a great day.